Reducing the spread of infection is a key component of the CellCheck principles and guidelines. It's important to realise that infected cows, be they clinical or subclinical, all carry mastitis bacteria that can infect other cows. And critically, this can happen in the milking process or in the housing or yards where infected bacteria come in contact with the teat of the cow. So the section we're going to deal with now very much shows best practice in how to reduce that from happening and how to prevent the spread of infection. There are, of course, two types of bacteria that cause this infection. The first type are contagious bacteria, and they're the likes of Staph aureus, that spreads mainly in the milking area during the milking process. Whereas the calving box, the cubicles, are areas that environmental bacteria can come into play, and they cause a different type of mastitis known as, broadly speaking, environmental mastitis. And that comes such as E. coli and Klebsiella and that type of bacteria. It's important to begin with the surfaces of the milking parlour, that the parlour is kept clean and indeed is constructed of materials that are easy to clean and disinfect, and avoid areas where dust gathers or fecal material stays. Similarly, the machine itself has to be kept clean, both in terms of the jars and the clusters, both inside and outside after every milking. Also, it's very important that the machine is serviced properly. The reason for this is that damaged liners, poor vacuum control, or fluctuation of vacuum can cause bacteria to move from an infected cow to an uninfected cow. This in particular can happen where a high cell count cow at the beginning or early part of milking can infect cows and heifers that come in subsequent part of milking. Now, how does CellCheck suggest we deal with this? Well, the first part is that during the milking process, it's very important that we wear gloves. The reason for this is quite simple. Gloves have a very smooth surface that's easy to disinfect, much easier to keep clean than just your hands themselves. But using those gloves is important to keep them clean during the milking process, and indeed, after handling a high cell count cow or a cow with mastitis, change those gloves. And of course, important to change them after every milking as well. In addition to this, it's critically important that the milking process considers the fact that we shouldn't touch the tops of teats with hands that are soiled. During force stripping, it's important not to let the force stripping milk get onto your gloves. Similarly, when applying the clusters, that you avoid contact of fecal material with the tops of the teats. So in summary, then, the other areas that are critically important are the areas of housing, and again, the cubicle design, the passageway design, where cows are particularly important to keep clean. And finally, for further details, you should use the CellCheck Farm Guidelines, in particular note N and L, for further details and practical solutions around this area of reducing the spread of infection.